and he scoops right there. He scoops from there, and he scoops. And he scoops, surprisingly. He's going to be able to draw a bunch of cards off of Hateful Eidolon, like, because of the amount of enchantments. Oh, wait, it doesn't get destroyed. It's exiled, and he's dead. Welcome back to yet another episode of Climbing the Ranks, where basically in this series we discuss a deck based on how it is, based on what the community says it is. So, kind of on, for example, if we take like a 5-colored Humbo Jumbo deck that has everything in it, and it just really is bad, like it doesn't even look that appeasing to the eye, has like one copy of each card in it, including the lands, and people say that it wins 80-90% of the time. We're here to test that out to see if it actually does. While if something like Elves or a newer deck like, I don't know, Goblins or Mono Red Aggro comes out and they say it wins 70-80% of the time, we'll also test it, and one is a lot more believable than the other. So that's basically the series, and today I'm bringing green-white aggro, sort of. It's more of like green-white control aggro in a way. It's a very popular deck. Most people say that it wins 80-90% of the time, which is why we're here to test it out. It's interesting to say the least. It's definitely not, it is a Lifegain variant, yes, but it definitely has a lot of combos with it that can get really ridiculous really quickly if it actually lives up to what it says it is. So let's just get right into it. For the 1-drops, running 4 Lunarch Veteran and 4 Soul Warden. They basically are the same thing, except Lunarch Veteran only does things on your side of the battlefield. And when you can flip it, basically when it dies, it has Disturb, and then it's basically a Daxos for your battlefield, which is really, really cool. And then Soul Warden, obviously, we all know what that does. Voice of the Blessed, it is a way better Johnny's Pridemate, because not only does it give us +1/+1 counters whenever we gain life, but it also, if it has 4 more +1/+1 counters on it, it is Flying and Vigilance, and if it has 10 or more +1/+1 counters on it, it has Indestructible, which is really crazy because a Flying, Vigilance, and Indestructible creature in white is very, very rare, and it is quite stupid. Especially since it's only a 2-drop, and the amount of life we're gaining in this deck, it will make it really, really easy. 2 Prosperous Innkeeper, this is our mana ramp and our, basically another Lunarch Veteran. Trussolara, it's more of like a Voice of the Blessed, but you also get a Scry one. Heliod the Sun Crowned, probably one of the best cards in our deck. Whenever we gain life, we put a +1/+1 counter, and then as long as its devotion is white is less than 5, it's not a creature, and then you can pay 1 generic and 1 white, another target creature gains lifelink until the end of turn. It's very, very good, because not only does it combo with itself, but it can give a bunch of +1/+1 counters, and with something like Voice of the Blessed, it gets really ridiculous very quickly. Skyclave Apparition, yes, this is the best exile card probably in white, because it's so cheap, and it targets a lot of things, and not only that, they don't get their card back like most things such as Banishing Light or another card that's coming up. Scurry Oak, this causes a bunch of infinite combos to happen. If we have Heliod and any Warden like Lunarch Veteran, Soul Warden, Prosperous Innkeeper, or even just attacking to gain life at all, we win the game basically, because we can create infinite squirrels, or what I like to do a lot is 30 to 40 squirrels, which people usually scoop by then. Conclave Tribunal, this is the worst Skyclave Apparition, but it's still pretty good because when we start getting the squirrel tokens and that kind of stuff, we can just have free drops. Inquisitor Captain, this is a really, really good card. I like it at 2 because when it gets, there's 4 in there, it kind of clogs the deck. It's a really, really good card, but it's debatable on whether I should run 4 or not, but if I were to run 4, I'd definitely take out the other Conclave Tribunals. And lastly, Collected Company, the best card in the deck by far, because you search basically any of your creatures and put them onto the battlefield, and a majority of this deck is creatures, so it's a freebie really. It's just the best card in the deck. Onto the lands, we're running 1 Castle Ardenfell, 8 Plains, 9 Forest, 1 Lair of the Hydra, Thriving Grove, Branch Loft Pathway, 2 Overgrown Farmlands, and a Temple Garden. You can change these however you want. I just like it at this number because that's all I have. And it doesn't really matter, as even if these, like, you can change these for whatever, I just like them where it is. And I really like the Lair of the Hydra because not a lot of these decks run it, and not a lot of them expect it. It's the similar reason why Castle Ardenfell's in there, because it can become a creature after a bunch of board wipes have happened or a lot of removal has happened. So let's get right into the games, and hopefully this deck lives up to what is. Game 1, our hand is looking pretty good. We do have a nice curve off the bat with Soul Warden, then Prosperous Innkeeper, yet we draw the Authority of the Consuls, and we're going to definitely play that first because we're going against a Aura deck, definitely, because Hateful Eidolon comes down and he's running Lurrus as his companion. So we're going to throw down the Soul Warden because I I didn't really want to throw that on the overgrown farmland right off the bat because it's not the best, because it's going to enter tap. So next turn we can get a Heliod, but more likely we're going to get the Trustlara or the Prosperous Innkeeper, and we're going to get the Trelisara or Trustlara. I don't know how you really want to pronounce it. We're going to put the forest at the bottom of our library since we already have 4 lands, and that's pretty much all we need in this deck. We're not going to attack because we don't really want to waste our Soul Warden. He becomes a 7/8 Hypeful Eidolon and then a 9/10. So this is getting pretty intense because it has Vigilance, Lifelink, and First Strike. So we go down quite a bit, but thank goodness it's a Lifegain deck. So we're going to do Prosperous Innkeeper right here. Then we're going to put it at the bottom. We're going to do Heliod just so we can get some life and put some more counters on stuff. And we're not going to attack with anything because his Hateful Eidolon is still untapped. So we can take another hit, but other than that, we're going to die. So I'm deciding, yeah, we should block with the Prosperous Innkeeper here because it doesn't have trample at all. And he's not running green, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. Core Spirit Dancer comes down, but thank goodness it is tapped. We're going to put more +1/+1 counters on Trustlara, and we're going to keep the Conclave Tribunal on top because we can get rid of it. So we're going to do Scurry Oak right here, then we're going to Soul Warden, we're going to put a +1/+1 counter on Scurry Oak, and we're going to get the infinite combo going here. Yay, the main part of this deck. This is where most people scoop, but I think he's trying to persevere through this situation. His Hateful Eidolon is going to die almost immediately because of our Conclave Tribunal, and this part's going to get a little boring because it's just us making a bunch of squirrels until we pretty much get to 50 life, so it's going to be a long time. First off, this deck, just to talk about more statistics of this deck, it can get this combo off very, very easily because of, well, as long as we get Scurry Oak out there, and since we have around 6 ways to get it with another 4 copies, that basically gives us 10 copies of Scurry Oak, and we also have pretty much 10 copies of Heliod as well, so we can get it off very easily and very efficiently. And with stuff like removal and other things that would target it, it makes it a lot easier to get this combo off than many people would think. However, the reason why we don't want this the main is because it's not the best combo, because it can be dealt with, which is why we're running the other combos in there, such as the Trelisara, the Soul Warden, all the other stuff, the Heliod, all that kind of stuff. And this is the main combo, but we can still win without it. We're going to keep the Inquisitor Captain on top because Inquisitor Captain is just really good. So we're going to go through a bunch of scries, and let's just keep going because that's all we want. This Trelisara is going to get really ridiculous, and we're going to yeah, let's Conclave Tribunal. I was thinking about giving it lifelink, but Conclave Tribunal would just be a lot funnier by attacking, well, exiling Hateful Eidolon. And since Ram is not going to do very much in this situation, I think it's still funny that we're scrying a bunch. We're going to definitely do that. Core Spirit Dancer is a little problematic, but it doesn't really matter. It's just kind of there, and I don't think he's going to have a lot of enchantments or things. He's going to be able to draw a bunch of cards off of Hateful Eidolon, like, because of the amount of enchantments. Oh wait, it doesn't get destroyed. It's exiled, and he's dead. So game 2, hand's looking pretty decent, but it's not the best, and we're going to keep the 4 collected companies. We're going to put definitely one of those back. We don't have the best start off because we can't really start going. He says my go, but that's because I'm thinking about how I'm going to go through the situation because it's not the best. He does search for Azcanta. I was kind of contemplating on whether I should have kept his hand, but we get a Castle Ardenvale, so we're going to get Voice of the Blessed out there. I did not do Scurry Oak here because I didn't really need it, and next turn, if we really wanted to, we could get a +1/+1 counter, and there's Collected Company. We're going to get Soul Warden and a Lunarch Veteran. The reason why we didn't get the Scurry Oak is A, we don't have the combo to go off, and B, we already have one in our hand, and we have another 2 Collected Companies for next turn anyway, so if we really wanted to play the Scurry Oak, we could, but I would rather do Collected Company and gamble a little bit more. We get another Forest, we're going to do Collected Company once again. We're going to get both of them, the Trelisara and another Soul Warden out there. We're going to keep the Skyclave Apparition on top because we need to get rid of that Tameo / the Philip, or the Search of Azcanta. More of the Search of Azcanta because that card gets ridiculous, and our Spirit of the Blessed or Voice of the Blessed deals with it already. So we're gonna do another Collected Company here. We're going to get a Skyclave Apparition and a Prosperous Innkeeper, gaining us a bunch of life. We didn't get the Voice of the Blessed, I mean the Trelisara, because we already have 2 of them out there already, and we're going to keep the Inquisitor Captain on top. We're going to gain a bunch of life here. This is barely any turns have passed here, maybe turn 4 or 5, and we already have this ridiculous board. Well, not turn 4 or 5, it'd be more about turn 6, but he does Hazel Pollen, which basically is the Teferi Protection, sort of. but he can't take any damage. He does another Search of Azcanta, which is perfectly fine, because we have yet another, but we're going to do the Inquisitor Captain here, because it's our cheaper, less powerful Collective Company. We're going to get the infinite, well, not the infinite combo, because Skuriok's not out there, but Heliod comes down, and we're just going to keep... We're going to put the Heliod at the bottom because I didn't think we had one. We're also going to put the Skuriok at the bottom because we already have one. Lunarch Veteran goes to the bottom. Plains goes to the bottom. We're not really looking for anything. We're just kind of going through. We just don't want another copy of Heliod or Skuriok because we already have one in our hand. And pretty much from here, we've already won the game. So we're going to attack with everything we can because he can't really block with anything. And I would like a Trelasara in case he has Haze of Pollen, which he did. And now he doesn't have much to go through. Fable Passage, that's fine. Whatever. Azusa, and he scoops from there. On to game 3, our hand is looking okay. We're definitely going to mulligan here because the hand is really, really bad actually, and our opponent's taking forever. He's probably a blue player based on his avatar, but I decided to risk it. We're going to keep it, and the risk paid off. Quite a bit. So we get Prosperous Innkeeper out there, and we're actually going to do Slow Warden right here for the treasure. Yes, it was quite a dumb play because I should have saved that treasure so I'd have cast something else. We're going to do Trelasara here, but I mean, hey, we're going to put this forest at the bottom because I'm feeling risky here because we're going against Elves. And as we know, Elves don't have the greatest reputation of being a really, really good deck anymore. I mean, yes, they were a top-notch deck a while ago, but right now, they aren't the best. So we get a Plains. We're going to Skyclave Apparition right off the bat. We're going to get rid of that War Master because that War Master is nasty. We're going to keep Heliod on top because we really want it. And we have an 8/8, and Elves can't really deal with 8/8s right off the bat. He's going to do Imperious Perfect. We're going to keep Heliod on top, and he scoops. Board was too much for little Elves to handle. We rank up there and go on to game 4. Our hand is looking really good here. We got a nice curve. We're going to do Calling White off of Thriving Grove. Jasper Sentinel comes down. We're going to do a Plains. We're going to do a Soul Warden and another Soul Warden to trigger off of each other instead of doing the Voice of the Blessed. Next turn we have set up for the Voice of the Blessed and another, well, we could have done an Inquisitor Captain, and he scoops right there. That was quick and easy. Number 5. Our hand is looking pretty good. Elves just can't deal with this deck. We're going to play a land right here, then we're going to play another land right here, and we're probably going to play another land and not do anything because that's how this deck rolls. It just rolls like that. We're going to do land, yeah, I'm going to make it enter tab. We're going to do the Trelasara here. Let's see if he's going to shock it, and he doesn't. That's kind of surprising, or more likely of Unholy Heat, because that's way better than shock. He's going to Expressive Iteration, the like 8-for-1 or whatever this is. That card is really ridiculous. Unholy Heat comes in what I expected. We're going to do a Voice of the Blessed, just kind of the better Trelasara, except we don't get to look through our library. Then, let's see, he's going to do another Faithless Looting, which is perfectly fine. He's going to do another land, and he does Pillar Flame. Pretty much another shock. We're going to do Collected Company, get another Trelasara and a Prosperous Innkeeper out there to set up for later plays with the treasure. Dragon's Rage Channel comes down here. That's fine. Unholy Heat, again, it has 4, so he just instantly kills it. Dragon's Rage Channel triggers again, so it becomes a 3/3, and it becomes another, well, it's still a 3/3. He just gets Arclight Phoenix and all that other kind of fun stuff. So Collected Company comes down with Skuriok. We're going to do Conclave Tribunal right here to get rid of that Arclight Phoenix from coming back every turn. Oh, wait, no, the Dragon's Rage Channeler is going to get a little bit more nasty because of that amount of scry and that kind of garbage this deck does. He does an Opt here, and he's kind of at a weird situation because he only has a 3/2 out there that we're going to get rid of pretty much next turn with our Skyclave Apparition, and being able to exile it and them not getting it back is really, really nice. And also, red does not have any enchantment removal, and blue has barely any. So let's see, he's being a blue player like all, and they waited forever. I don't have much experience with this, and it only seems like it happens in MTGA because they take forever to see what kind of counter spell they're going to play next, even though nobody's looking. Okay, Skyclave Apparition comes down, we're going to do it. Let's see if he counters it, which it would be a reasonable option to do, something like Essence Scatter, or, well, Gerard Disruption would not do anything. I'm guessing it's going to be something like Essence Scatter or nothing. Nothing's going to happen. So we're going to get rid of that Arclight Phoenix. Skuriok triggers, creating a 1/1 because of its weird ability. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. So let's see. His Taking forever, that's fun. Heliod next turn will be a really good play, or another Skyclave Apparition in case he has something really good out there. But I think we're going to do the Heliod because we can get the infinite combo rolling again, or he's just going to take forever and not do anything. And he scoops right there. On to game 6. Our hand is looking pretty fine. We have a nice curve. We have pretty much three Soul Wardens in our hand, and it's pretty good. So we're going to do Soul Warden right off the bat. We can't do Voice of the Blessed next turn, which is kind of sad, but we can get another Lunarch Veteran out there. He does Unholy Heat. That's kind of funny because he doesn't really like that card. Nobody does. We're going to do Lunarch Veteran out there. It's basically the same thing. We're going to see he does nothing. He does Sprite Dragon. And that's pretty good. And then he does a Pillar Flame again, but that's funny because we have yet another, but we're going to pay 2 life, get Voice of the Blessed out there to deal with that Dragon's Rage Channeler in case it somehow stays out how it is and not get flying off of its weird ability. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Sprite Dragon keeps triggering. That card is really good. And then here comes the 8-for-1 Expressive Iteration, and he gets a Consider off of what he reveals, but he doesn't get to cast it. We're going to do a Skyclave Apparition on the Sprite Dragon because that card's going to get really ugly very quickly. Dragon's Rage Channeler, 2 of them, and a Sprite Dragon, and we're down to 5 life. This deck really isn't life gaining anymore. We get Lunarch Veteran, Voice of the Blessed comes down. We're going to attack with both because we know we're dead next turn anyways, and it's not looking the best for us. Ox of Agnois comes down. Well, there are still 1/1s now, which is really nice, and we're going to block both of them. Well, one of them. We're down to 4. We're at a risky situation. I thought we were going to die, but we're not. So we're going to do Conclave Tribunal, tapping our Lunarch Veteran, getting rid of the Ox of Agnois so it can't escape continuously. We're putting him down to 7 life, and he scoops, surprisingly. We're alive. On to 7. We have a okay start. We're going to do Overgrown Farmland, and we're going to do Lair of the Hydra next. We're going to do a Soul Warden off the bat, because your hands are not the best. He does 2 Thought Seizes, so he's running rogues, almost most definitely. Ashiok comes down. Yeah, he's running rogues. He's running mill rogues. There's no doubt about it, because if he's not, that's going to be super surprising. Conclave Tribunal, we're going to get rid of that Ashiok because that card will get ugly very quickly. Inquisition gets rid of our Skuriok, and yet we get another one. So we're going to have no hand, which is perfectly fine for this deck because we want more bait. He does Frantic Inventory. That's fine. He just gets to draw a card, basically. We're going to attack for 1. This is kind of an older, more designed deck. He does another Frantic Inventory, getting 2 more, so it's probably just the one that he built that's out of rotation. Blood Chief Sirs kills our Soul Warden, sadly, but that's perfectly fine. We have a Lair of the Hydra, and we get a Prosperous Innkeeper, which is a really nice combo. We're going to pay... yeah, we'll pay 1 for X because I don't really want to sacrifice the treasure. We're going to get that out there. Shadow's Verdict happens, and that's why we run things like this. We get a Lair of the Hydra. We're going to pay X for this 5. We're going to sacrifice that treasure and deal him 5 damage. He's down to 6, and he's played no creature cards, which is quite funny. Ashiok Dream Render comes down. He mills 4, and he's going to exile my graveyard, which we don't run on our graveyard at all, which is perfectly fine for this deck. He's doing nothing like most blue players do, seemingly on MTGA and maybe in real life, but I'm not going to judge anybody because, I mean, it's skill. He takes skill for running blue sometimes, and he scoops right there. On to game 8. Our hand is looking really good. A very nice, well, not a very nice curve, but it's just a really good cards in there. We're going against this stupid deck again. Skyclave Apparition, getting rid of that off the bat because we don't want to deal with it. Come on, Unholy Heat, there it is. He gets a 1/1, whatever. Oh, the damage. Oh, the pain. Here comes the 8-for-1. Oh, the 1/1's too much for us to deal with. We can't deal with it because we're not running a Lifegain deck. Yeah, he's considers. That's fine, whatever. I thought it was going to be something like a Stern Dismissal or some garbage like that, which hopefully this deck doesn't run. Sprite Dragon comes down, and another Sprite Dragon comes down. He's going to attack with both of them, whatever. Our hand's looking pretty fine. We're going to do the Collected Company here. Instead of the Inquisitor Captain, we get a Voice of the Blessed and a Soul Warden out there. Prosperous Innkeeper, I was thinking about attacking, but I don't want to get rid of it because it's basically another Soul Warden for our Voice of the Blessed. Next turn, we're probably going to do Inquisitor Captain unless we draw something like a Collected Company, which we probably will with how this game is going, me calling all of the plays. Sprite Dragon's going to attack for probably 6 or 8, which it's going to attack for 8 because that he has no more mana, and Arc-like Phoenix is going to come down, so our thing gets flying. That's funny. He's going to attack with everything to try to get as much damage as he can, but Lifegain decks absolutely hurt this deck. So we're going to get a Soul Warden right out there, and we're also going to get an Inquisitor Captain out there, getting 2 cards onto the, well, one of them on the battlefield, which is going to be the Heliod, because Heliod's going to get ridiculous, and we're going to create a 15, 15, 16, 16, actually, a lot more than that. So we have 17, 17 with Vigilance, and we kill him right there. That is pretty good. On to game 9. Our hand is looking really, really good. We're going to do a Soul Warden. Right here, we have 2 Lunarch Veterans, so we're going to cast both of those right now. So hopefully it doesn't have a 1-drop board wipe, which they don't exist. I don't think there's even a 2-drop board wipe. I know there's a 3-drop board wipe. Kite Self Foot Butter, haha, he can't even discard anything. We're going to keep confusing him a little bit to try and bait out another Kite Self Foot Butter that comes down here, or Free Butter. I don't even know what it is. Whatever. Captain Aberheart comes down. That's pretty good. We're going to do a... Can't cast it. That sucks. Okay, our Collected Company casts 1 more because it's basically a worse Thalia, kind of, sort of. I shouldn't say that because it's a pretty good card. And he casts his Collected Company of his own, and we're gonna cast ours because we're that mean. And we're gonna get an infinite loop going on his turn again. Whoop-de-doo-dah. Like I said earlier, this loop is very easy to get through. And we do have more transitions to get out of this, like last game you saw that we did win without getting this loop, and pretty much all the games before other than the one that we did get the loop on. And it's really good. And if we have 3 basically Soul Wardens on our battlefield, we can do whatever we want, really. So we're going to get a bunch of counters on Scurry Oak. We're going to make, like, I don't know, 40 squirrels, or probably more of around 20, because all of our Lunarch Veterans come out. We're going to give everything big, or we're gonna wait until he scoops, because that's a lot of this deck. It's all about just waiting and scooping. And I don't know what else much to talk about. There really isn't a whole lot of other things about this deck other than control and then waiting to get out all aggro out him. So we're gonna make all of our stuff like a 6/6. We have, I mean, we don't have anything. Our time is gonna go out because of our little infinite combo, so I'm trying to hurry here really quickly to try and put everything on we want here. We're gonna make a bunch of little 2/2 squirrels so they don't die immediately, and everything will automatically trigger on the Soul Warden. So our Soul Warden is gonna be huge. It's gonna be larger than the Scurry Oak, and his Collected Company will resolve. Let's see what he gets. Something good? No? Well, that sucks, because I have blockers for everything, and he scoops right there. On to game 10. This is really funny. Game 10. Hand's looking pretty good. We have a nice curve, like always, and we have a Soul Warden right off the bat. He is the first person to say hello. Vampire Dire Moon comes out there. That's perfectly fine. Layer of the Hydra, and let's see what else we can do here. Soul Warden's perfectly good right here. Vampire Dire Moon comes out again. That does nothing. I am getting stressed because he is taking forever for his 1 mana, and he's playing black. So hopefully he's not playing rogues or some other thing like that. Vampire of Dire Moon is a good card because it's a 1/1 with Death Touch, but it doesn't really go along with a whole bunch of decks, unless he's running the black Lifegain, which it does. Bloodthirsty Earless, that's perfectly fine. I don't really care about that. We're going to get 2, well, pretty much 3 Pride Mates, because Trelasara and 2 Voice of the Blessed out there are pretty much Pride Mates, but way better. Trelasara is going to trigger when we keep the Collected Company on top. We're just going to keep it on top because we really want that next turn, and he attacks with 2. Sadly, none of our things are indestructible, and taking 2 damage doesn't really matter. So we're going to do this. We're going to do Collected Company. We're going to get a Skyclave Apparition and another Voice of the Blessed. This is going to get ridiculous. We're going to get rid of the bigger Bloodthirsty Airless because we don't really care about the Vampire of Dire Moon, and he scoops right there. So this deck definitely lived up to its name because it's really, really good. I mean, it's very versatile. It has 1 infinite combo that not many decks can deal with really quickly unless you're running something like black that can instantly destroy it, but other than that, it can still really pop off even if you do destroy it. The main player of this deck is this card. I mean, it's probably one of the best cards in this deck. Collected Company is such a hard card to deal with. It's not that easy to counter. I mean, it is, but nobody expects it. And even if it's an instant too, because you can do stuff on your opponent's turn, which that's kind of crazy. It's a green card. It's just a very, very, very good, very, very good card. Another card that was very, very good was Voice of the Blessed, definitely, because this is just a way better Pride Mate. I am so glad this card came out because it's ridiculous. It has 2 more lines that Pride Mate should have, but it doesn't. It's really good, and thank goodness they didn't print it as legendary, such as the Trelisara, but even then the Trelisara is very good because it allows us to go through the deck. And some other cards that were really good. I mean, this whole deck's just overall really good. The only thing that I would change would maybe to put, instead of the only 2 Inquisitor captains, would put 4 instead of the Conclave Tribunals. However, the Conclave Tribunals came in quite a few times in this deck, because even if Skyclave Apparition is really good, it only targets non-token things that are 4 or less. So anything like a Tree Folk that gets ridiculous off of something like Ren and 7, or something comes down that's indestructible like a Ulamog, which is not super likely, but it still can happen. Conclave Tribunal is just better in that situation. However, this deck is very quick, and it also can be mid-game too, and it can partially be late game, but it's mainly like the beginning and mid-game, and it can really go through. And yeah, this deck is very good. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It'd be greatly appreciated. And yes, thank you for watching.